A few days before Christmas, my wife and I found ourselves in a situation that started small but quickly turned into something much bigger than we ever expected. Have you ever bought something online, paid for it, and assumed the transaction was completely finished, only to be hit with unexpected charges afterward? Now, imagine that happening just days before Christmas, when you're already trying to make everything special for your kids. That's exactly what happened to us. My wife and I live on a fixed disability income, so Christmas shopping always requires careful planning. We don't go overboard, but we try to make sure our children still feel the excitement of the holiday. One of the gifts we had planned was for our 9-year-old son, who absolutely loves football. If you've ever had a kid obsessed with the game, you probably know what a rebounder is. It's basically a small training net that acts like a trampoline. Kick the ball at it, and it bounces it straight back so you can practice control and passing. It's simple, but for a child who loves football, it's the perfect gift. So, we ordered one from a major UK sports retail company that also operates here in Ireland. The order was placed through their Irish website, and everything looked completely normal. The price seemed reasonable, the shipping details were clear, and there were no warnings about any additional charges. We paid for it, confirmed the order, and moved on with the rest of our Christmas shopping, thinking nothing more about it. A few days later, my wife received a message from a courier company. It said that we had customs charges to pay, almost 50 euros. At first, we thought it must be some kind of scam. We had already finished most of our Christmas shopping, and we weren't expecting any other packages. Just to be safe, my wife called the courier company directly. That's when we found out the truth. The package had been shipped from the UK. We started looking into it more carefully, and after a bit of digging, we realized something frustrating. The package with the customs charge wasn't something new, it was the rebounder we had ordered for our son. Even though we had bought it through the company's Irish website, the product had actually been shipped from the UK. Because of that, we were now responsible for import duties. The worst part was that at no point during checkout had we been warned about this. There was no notice, no message, and no indication that we might be charged anything extra. Nothing at all. To some people, 50 euros might not sound like a huge amount of money, but when you live on a fixed income, an unexpected charge like that, especially right before Christmas, really hurts. Still, our son was expecting that gift, and we didn't want to disappoint him. So, we paid the customs charge and decided we would call the retailer afterward to sort it out properly. The first day I called their customer service line 3 separate times. Each time I was left on hold for more than 20 minutes. Even so, I stayed polite. I used to work in a call center myself, so I understand that the people answering the phones aren't usually the ones responsible for the problem. Eventually, I managed to speak to someone and explain the situation calmly. I asked to speak to a manager, and the representative promised that someone would call me back. No one called. The next day I tried again. The same thing happened. Long hold times, polite promises, and no follow-up. By the third day, I was starting to lose patience. When I finally got through to someone again, I explained the entire situation from the beginning. All I wanted was the 50 euros refunded. Irish consumer law is very clear. If a purchase involves additional charges, those charges must be disclosed before checkout. This website had not shown anything, not once. I even told the representative that I could recreate the problem while we were on the phone. If I added the product to the cart and went through checkout again, there was still no warning about import duties. The representative didn't seem particularly concerned. Instead of addressing the problem properly, he offered me a 20 euro gift voucher to use on their website. That was the moment I realized they weren't taking this seriously. But what he said next was what really pushed me over the edge. He began reading from a script, saying that the company advises customers that there may be DDU charges on items shipped outside the UK. So I asked him a very simple question. Where exactly does it say that? He paused for a moment and then admitted that he didn't know. At that point, I had enough. I told him I was giving the company one last chance to fix the situation. I asked him to have a manager call me within the next 60 minutes. If that didn't happen, I said I would post the entire story on LinkedIn and tag every senior executive in the company. Then I hung up and waited. 1 hour passed, then another. No one called. So the next day I did exactly what I had promised. I went on LinkedIn and wrote a detailed post explaining everything that had happened. I described the hidden charges, the repeated phone calls, and the misleading checkout process. I wasn't rude or aggressive, I simply told the truth. Then I tagged everyone I could find: regional managers, European directors, senior leadership, and even the CEO. After that, I pressed post. Not long after the post went live, I noticed something strange. The product page for the rebounder had disappeared from the company's website. They had removed it completely, clearly trying to hide the evidence. But they made one important mistake. While the product page was gone, the item still appeared if you searched for rebounder on the site. So I took screenshots. Then I checked Google's cached version of the page, and sure enough, it was still there. The full product listing from just 2 days earlier, with absolutely no mention of import charges. I added those screenshots to the post as well, pointing out that the company appeared to be trying to remove the evidence instead of fixing the problem. The post started gaining attention. Not long after that, I noticed that 3 people had viewed my LinkedIn profile in incognito mode. There were no names, just anonymous views. I had a pretty good idea who those people were, so I took screenshots of that too and added them to the post. The next morning, my phone rang. It was a senior executive from the company's UK head office. Her tone was completely different from the people I had spoken to earlier. She was extremely apologetic and asked what she could do to resolve the situation. I told her honestly that, at the beginning, all I wanted was the €50 refunded. But after everything I had gone through just to get their attention, the situation had changed. I asked for the €50 customs charge to be refunded, a full refund for the entire purchase, and permission to keep the product. Otherwise, the LinkedIn post would remain exactly where it was. She asked for a couple of hours to sort things out. I agreed. About an hour later, she called back. The company refunded the full cost of the purchase, sent the €50 to my PayPal account, and told us to keep the rebounder as well. In the end, I wasn't trying to start a fight with a massive retail company. All I wanted was fairness, a simple €50 refund that could have been handled in 5 minutes. Instead, they ignored the issue for 3 days, and it ended up costing them far more. The real lesson in this story is simple. Never assume you're powerless just because you're one customer. Large companies rely heavily on their reputation, and sometimes the truth told in the right place can be more powerful than any customer service department. Most importantly, though, my son got his Christmas gift, and his belief in Santa stayed intact.